Hello guys, I like cheese, and I like playing games. I am archiving myself, playing these story-driven games as an additional motivation since I always skip and save them for quote-unquote other days, whatever reason I come up with just to not play them. Also because I've been a sucker for live service games for so long that I didn't have the time to play all these great games through the years.
It's been a long time since I've played this game, but it still feels great. I genuinely don't know if it's just nostalgia talking, but the characters, the story, the whole game just hits me greatly. So let's get started. Returning to Suikoden, how it feels after Suikoden 1. Since I actually played both games back to back in the remaster, the difference is immediately obvious. Suikoden 1 just seems like a prototype of what Suikoden 2 is. Everything feels better. The runes, the unite attacks, the story, the war battles, the characters. Suikoden 1 is good, but Suikoden 2 just takes everything the first game introduced and makes it better across the board. The only exception is probably some technical limitations, but aside from that, there's really no contest. Playing them together really highlights just how much of a leap Suikoden 2 is as a sequel. The setting and world. To be fair, this is still a political type of story. It's still not a world-ending threat the way other games tend to go. It's small scale, war between countries within just one or a few regions, mostly contained to one area, with occasional dabbling in others for short stretches. But what makes the world feel richer here is how the true runes are woven into the conflict more meaningfully. The main true rune being the Rune of Beginning, the conflict between its two owners splitting apart, the chaos and creation aspect of it all ties into the story in a way that feels organic, rather than just lore for its own sake. Other characters' use of true runes also factors into the conflicts in interesting ways. The world feels lived in and detailed despite its relatively small scale. You understand the politics, the relationships between kingdoms, and the human cost of the war in a way that Suikoden 1 never quite achieved. Story and narrative. The core plot, war and friendship. The main plot being two close friends getting caught up in a war they didn't choose, receiving power that could help end that war, but then taking fundamentally different routes and plans. It's great storytelling. The morality is clouded. The justification is there for both sides. You understand why both Ryu and Jowie make the choices they do, even when those choices put them at odds. And then there's Luca, who is just a straight-up evil bastard. No moral grayness there. Tone and emotional weight. Let me talk about the emotional side of this game, because it hits hard. I did the hidden bad ending, and even having seen it before and knowing what happens, seeing the scenes again hit me. Nanami asking you to run away, you as the player knowing what happens to her later in the game, and just making the choice to escape. Ridley dying, Shu's slap. It's not even a bad ending in the traditional sense. Ryu and Nanami seemingly live peacefully in some woods. But just thinking about the consequences of running away, what probably happened to Necklord without anyone to stop him, the bleak future for the entire region, makes it genuinely heavy. Then there's what Luca Blight actually does on screen. What happened to Pilika's town and her parents? The Ryubei village massacre. It's downright fearful. This game shows you evil in a way that makes you feel it, and Jowie's betrayal, and the Nanami sacrifice moment. If you played this for the first time without all 108 stars, without Nanami properly leveled to survive, watching her die hits harder than any sacrifice scene in the series. Way more than Gremio in Suikoden 1, which was already effective. Luca Blight, one of gaming's best villains. If we're gonna talk about Luca Blight, he really is a great villain and antagonist. He's just plain bad. Even with the backstory about his mother, it's not a justified reason to become an agent of chaos. It feels like he simply gave up on life. and since he suffered, he wants the world to burn and suffer alongside him. He does horrible things, and the Luca boss battle is still one of the most memorable boss encounters I've experienced. Making you fight him with 3 separate parties before he finally falls is a perfect mechanical expression of who he is as a character. He doesn't just die, he makes you work for it. Joey, the noble demon. Regarding Joey as the rival, I think if we had his perspective as a playable route, we would have had a vastly different game. His choices may have been a bit too drastic, but the goal is the same as Ryu's. He just wants the war to end. His way of doing it is morally wrong, having Highland conquer everything, creating one big nation so there's no more war. But the logic is internally consistent. It's honestly similar to Madara's Infinite Tsukiyomi. Everyone would be happy, at the cost of it being an illusion. Or even closer to Lelouch from Code Geass, conquering everything and succeeding, then sacrificing himself so all the hatred falls on him alone, rather than continuing the cycle. I think Joey's plan was probably to be that noble demon trope. Sadly for him, Ryu's way succeeded instead. But you understand Joey, and that's what makes him a great character. The 108 Stars, Recruitment Revisited. I liked the characters more in Suikoden 2 overall, though I'll admit that might be biased from knowing them longer. They feel more connected to the castle and to the story. Their roles in the headquarters feel more meaningful, and more of them feel tied to what's actually happening in the narrative. The returning characters from Suikoden 1 are a really cool touch, especially if you played the first game beforehand. Seeing them older, seeing what happened to them after Suikoden 1's story, understanding where their lives went, it adds real depth. And being able to recruit the Suikoden 1 protagonist and put him in your party, that's genuinely exciting as a fan of the series. The castle also feels more expansive this time around. More mini-games, more things to do, more life in the headquarters. I didn't even get to finish the cooking competition fully. There are achievements tied to some of the mini-games, so I'll probably revisit it just for those. Main characters. Ryu, the silent protagonist. He's still the silent protagonist type, similar to Tyr, and he seems to have been forced into this position entirely because he has the power and the quality for it, whether he likes it or not. I just wished there were more choices that affected your relationships meaningfully. Some characters warming up to you more, some becoming more distant. Minor stuff, nothing that affects the stars of destiny, just little tweaks in how the protagonist's relationships develop based on your decisions. That would have added a lot of texture. Nanami, the sister you understand. I feel like I understand Nanami completely. They both just got mixed up and thrown into the center of a war that was never theirs. They technically didn't choose this route, and seeing others dying, seeing her brother getting hurt because of all this, her wanting to run away makes perfect sense. Even as a non-relative figure, with their only parent figure Genkaku already gone, she feels like she needs to protect her brother one way or another. That drive is exactly what justifies the reasoning behind the true ending. She's not weak for wanting to run. She's human. Joey, already covered, but worth repeating. Covered above, but Joey is really the heart of what makes Suikoden 2 special as a story. Every time the game forces you to confront what he's become, it hurts because you understand him. That tension between understanding someone and opposing them is rare in games. Victor and Flick, way better here. Now that I can compare them to Suikoden 1, Victor and Flick both feel significantly better developed here. In Suikoden 1, Flick was basically a side character. Here, both of them have weight, history, and personality that makes them feel like genuine leads in their own right. Victor in particular feels like the emotional backbone of the early game. His friendship with Flick, his gruffness masking genuine care, It all lands here in ways it couldn't in the first game. Gameplay systems combat. Familiar, but refined. The combat is classic old-school turn-based, same as Suikoden 1, but the refinements make it feel noticeably better. The expanded rune system having 3 slots means some characters have unique locked runes and still have space for other customization. The spell runes also feel more impactful and varied than in the first game. I also actually engaged with Unite attacks this time around, which I completely missed in Suikoden 1 due to rushing. Finding the right character combinations for powerful team-up attacks adds a fun layer to party building that rewards you for experimenting with the roster. Army battles, actually tactical now. I like that the war battles are actually somewhat tactical this time around, instead of just simple rock, paper, scissors like in Suikoden 1. There's real strategy involved in unit composition and command decisions. I just wish there were fewer scripted battles where you don't really need to win, or where the outcome is predetermined regardless of your performance. That deflates the tension a bit. But to be fair, in the era before internet guides, playing this blind, the war battles would have been genuinely amazing. It's basically tactics genre gameplay folded into the main story. For its time, that's remarkable. Difficulty. Similar to Suikoden 1, it's not particularly punishing even on harder settings, but I think that works for this type of story-driven JRPG. The game wants you to experience the narrative without too many hard roadblocks. The challenge comes from the emotional investment, not from grinding or stat management. Presentation. Visuals. The remaster cleans up the pixel art beautifully. Same as Suikoden 1, the improvements are noticeable while preserving the original charm. The character portraits in particular look great. Music. A playlist I still listen to. The music and sound design in Suikoden 2 is exceptional. The soundtracks and themes are genuinely memorable. Even now, I have a playlist that I listen to when I just want to work or have something in the background. The battle themes, the emotional pieces, the town music, all of it has this quality that sticks with you long after you finish playing. It's the kind of soundtrack where hearing a track immediately takes you back to a specific moment in the game. That's rare, and it speaks to how well the music is matched to the scenes and emotions it's meant to accompany. Easily one of the best sound beds in JRPG history. What's better than Suikoden 1? Pretty much everything, if I'm being honest. The story has more depth and emotional weight. The characters are better developed. The war battles have actual strategy. The rune system has more customization. The castle has more content. The recruitment feels more meaningful. The villain is one of gaming's best. Suikoden 1 laid the foundation. Suikoden 2 built the house. Final thoughts. I've definitely enjoyed my time with these two games. There was never a moment where I felt like dropping either one, and that's saying something after a long journey through other series. Suikoden 2 in particular feels complete in a way the first game didn't quite manage. It takes everything the first game did and elevates it. The story, the characters, the systems, the emotional beats, all of it is sharper, deeper, and more memorable. It's one of the best JRPGs I've played through this entire journey. Maybe the best in terms of pure storytelling. Luca Blight alone earns it a place in any conversation about great JRPG villains, and the Jowie storyline is the kind of nuanced character writing that most games don't even attempt. I really do hope this series gets the continued remaster treatment it deserves. Playing these back-to-back reminded me why people hold Suikoden 2 so highly. It's earned every bit of that reputation. What's next? For now, since it's a bit hard to play the succeeding Suikoden titles legally while recording, I'll probably move on to other series for now. I might come back if they get remasters like what they did with Suikoden 1 and 2. I'm still undecided on what to play next. Maybe Dragon Quest, maybe something else entirely. If you have suggestions, let me know in the comments. Either way, I'm going in with excitement. These past couple of games reminded me how good JRPGs can be when everything clicks. Let's see what's next.